And there we are. I think that is us live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the MMA UK's Late Show. My name's Lewis Smith, and tonight we're going to be talking to you a little bit about some fights that went on this last couple of nights. Cage Warriors, the Strike Back trilogy, really great couple of cards. 3 nights of fights in 3 nights, and to be honest, they were all cracking. So we're going to go through those with you this evening. Please leave any comments, any questions, and we'll try and get back to you on those. But yeah, tonight I'm joined by some of my guests. First one is a guy I've not seen for a long time, Kieran Cobley, a guy we usually end up doing 3 or 4, sometimes even more shows every year on the UK circuit. But this year, obviously due to COVID, we've not been doing as many. Kieran, how you been keeping, buddy?
Yeah, I've been doing good, man. Obviously missing seeing you guys like yourself, Katie, some of the guys we see in the press room. Obviously this year's been a bit crappy for getting to see people, and but hopefully next year, with Cage Warriors now announcing that fans are going to be in arenas for their next 3 shows, hopefully that means we can there'll be some more press on the bench and we can have a bit of catch up later. But yeah, doing good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. Fingers crossed. I think we're all itching to get back to it now. And last but definitely not least is my second guest, my second analyst for the evening, MMA UK's own jiu-jitsu specialist, Stuart Henderson, aka Stoomboy. Stu, how's it going this evening, buddy?
I'm all good, bro. I'm all good.
You ready to get into these fights?
Yes. As I said, MMA was never my thing until obviously I'd watched it as a fan. So obviously, since I came on board with MMA UK News, so obviously got a little bit more into MMA. So I kind of try and make out as if I know what I'm talking about.
I think that's what we all do, Stu. So you're in good company, mate. You're in good company. But obviously we'll start off with this first card. Then we got a few to get through. Obviously Thursday night's card, we had Cage Warriors 117. All these took place at York Hall as well. And fair play to Cage Warriors, they did a really good job putting these on and getting them out in such a difficult time. And putting on really good close matchups as well. Ian Dean has long been a great matchmaker in the UK and across Europe. So to see him doing his thing despite COVID is always great. And he delivered again. I gotta say they all did. And obviously this first card on Thursday evening, it started off with it didn't start off. It ended with a Cage Warriors title fight, the flyweight belt. It was kind of dubbed as one of the biggest flyweight matches of all time. One of the best sort of closely competed matches, and that was between Jake Hadley and Luke Shanks. Luke Shanks, obviously the defending champion. Hadley obviously took a unanimous decision there, a pretty dominant win as well. Kieran, I'll come to you first. Jake Hadley, talk us through what happened in that fight, mate.
I mean, I think the only way to say it is he just took down Luke Shanks for 5 rounds and kept him on the ground and just made Luke Shanks' life impossible for those 25 minutes. I mean, Shanks looked at it, and then the 5th round he came out through a bit of a Hail Mary flying knee, closed the distance way too fast, and then Hadley went straight in for a takedown and just sort of dominated him from there. It was just Shanks never really showed what he could do. We didn't see the same Shanks that we saw when he took the title of Fighting. But Jake Hadley, man, he looked so impressive in that fight with his wrestling. We knew he'd got great wrestling. He's only like 21, 22 years old, and he's already a wrestling coach at a gym in Birmingham. So we know he's a great wrestler, and he proved that. It has to be said that belt is a bit of a poison chalice, and no Cage Warriors flyweight champions ever defended the title successfully. Shanks failed to defend just the last 3. So Shanks failed to defend, Fighting failed to defend, and Nathan Grayson was stripped for not making weight. So I mean, I guess he's hoping for a call, but soon as he doesn't have to defend it.
Yeah. And Stu, what do you make of the match? One thing I want to ask you, Stu, in terms of the grappling department, were you surprised by the way Hadley was able to sort of handle Luke Shanks there? I mean, Luke, obviously, he handled Fadine last time round. Were you surprised by that, the gap in skill there?
Yeah, I mean, we know where Luke Shanks comes from, where he trains, higher level. Obviously, the level of jiu-jitsu coming out of that gym, the level of grappling, should I say, is absolutely top class. Obviously, in Scotland, everybody knows who higher level is and what they can do grappling-wise. So I was surprised. But I mean, your man, Hadley, mate, he controlled everything. As soon as it went to the ground, there was absolutely nothing Luke Shanks could have done. I mean, the guy was all over him when he tried to move. He was there. He did absolutely everything perfect. And yeah, I mean, got the win, a dominant win as well. Not just scraped the win, but absolutely dominant when you look at some of the scorecards.
Yeah, I think for me, when I was watching it, actually went the opposite way I expected the fight to go. I was expecting Hadley to be kind of more active on the feet with Luke pressing for the takedown, but it ended up Luke kind of landing a couple of shots and then Hadley just grabbing him down and doing his thing for pretty much 5 rounds, as Kieran said. Kieran, what I would like to ask you as well is what you thought of sort of Luke's tactics in this one, because I know a lot of people in the comments on the chat were saying that he should have maybe tried to keep away, keep his distance, and land those strikes, as opposed to sort of charging right in. Is that something you felt watching it?
I mean, the first round, he caught Hadley with a good shot, and he definitely had him rocked. But then he charged in. He didn't take his time with it. He didn't pace himself. He just went straight in, rushed in, and that's where Hadley secured the first takedown. And then he kept making the same mistake in rounds 2, 3, and 4. And then in the fifth round, I know Brad Warren on commentary made a great call that maybe he needs to keep his distance, strike at range for a little bit. But instead, he came out and threw a flying knee, which was a technique that closes distance really, really fast. And as soon as his feet touched the ground from throwing that technique, Hadley took him straight back down again. It just he needed to think more before throwing strikes. And I don't know if it was if the advice from his corner was to always close the distance faster, or if it wasn't, or if he changed the game plan on the fly himself. I know he came out on social media today and sort of issued a statement saying that he didn't stick to the game plan. He should have kept it safe. But yeah, it wasn't clinical thinking. It was very much, I'm going to rush in and try and hit the guy, and then hope for the best. And it didn't work.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think's next for both these guys now? Obviously, Jake, first of all, you've got a champion there who looked absolutely amazing, not only in this fight, but in his previous fight against Shadchak as well. He's a champion in another organization down in South Africa there. What's next for this guy now? Would you like to see him defend, or do you think there's just no one there for him and send him straight up to the UFC?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll end up in the UFC. I think whoever won that on Thursday was more than likely going to end up in the UFC. We were all talking about it. I know that obviously Peter and stuff like that, we were talking about it in the WhatsApp chat that we've got, and that's kind of everybody's opinion on it. That's going to happen. Luke Shanks, where does he go from there? So again, when you lose, it's just about picking yourself back up and moving on. And then, yeah, I mean, great things are going to happen for Luke Shanks. They are going to happen. But yeah, I mean, he just needs to pick himself up and keep going.
Yeah, and one good thing, I suppose, Kieran, he never gave up, did he? He really did kind of keep trying until the end. There's no quitting the guy. Even I think it was first or second round, he was really close to getting rear naked choked, and he fought until the bitter end, never gave up. So there's definitely a lot of kind of room for improvements and a lot of prospects for Luke Shanks moving forward, I would think, as Stu said.
I mean, definitely, you can't question the guy's heart. He's training at a great gym as well at high level. He's obviously destined for good things in his career. I mean, 7-2, so 9 fights into his pro career. He's good at making mistakes like he did last night. But we're going to see him evolve as a fighter. I mean, I can't wait to see the reaction fans are going to give him as well when he gets back in the arena. And he can put on a show for fans as well, because I think some fighters are definitely going to flourish when fans are back in the arena. And maybe aren't don't like having the small arena where there's no fans in. But yeah, 7-2. He's only 20-something years old. There's definitely more to come from the guy. In his heart, it's definitely fantastic. He kept fighting like an absolute warrior last night. So all credit to him. It's just a shame that things didn't pan out the way he wanted to.
Yeah, always next time. We look forward to seeing both these guys back in, because they both put on a really good show, and two great fighters. So we look forward to seeing them both again. And that takes on to the next fight of the night, or the previous fight of the night, I should say. This was a bit of a Cage Warriors vet at this point. Sam Christie taking on Adam Amorous Singer. Obviously, Sam winning that one by TKO punches in the third round. A pretty good performance from Sam. A guy who's been there, done it all. Kieran, what did you make of this one, buddy? What were your thoughts on Sam Christie's two in a row now, 2 wins in a row?
It's difficult to say, because we obviously know him and Jake Hadley are a training partner. So even with a win, is I don't really want to say he's going to fight a title next, especially because we don't know if Hadley will get a call up or not, because we know the UFC is making cuts to their fighting roster. But he's very close to becoming the guy in cage, whereas it's known as he's going to be the bridesmaid, but never the bride. I think is the expression. I mean, he's had 2 title shots before and got knocked out both times by Anthony Grayson and Samir Fayadin. But last night he looked very cool, calm, relaxed. I mean, Adam Amersinger gave him a real test, and that fight was fantastic. We know they got a lot of respect for each other, and it showed. It was a great performance. The knockout, I don't know whether I think it might have been a tad earlier. Amersinger seemed to be still in the fight for me, but no fault to Sam Christie. I mean, he came out with a win. Should his title, next fight be for a title? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Steve, did you think it was an early stoppage? I was kind of with Kieran. I thought it could have gone on a little bit longer. What was your thoughts on the stoppage there?
Yeah, I mean, it probably could have went on a bit longer. I would say referee kind of jumped in and stopped it a bit. I would say a bit early. I'd say don't get me wrong. Adam was taking a lot of damage, so he was taking a bit of damage. But I mean, you've seen stoppages before where they've let it go on a little bit longer, maybe a few extra punches just to see what happens. So, yeah, I mean, the referee probably jumped in a little bit early for me.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, it's a really interesting division now. A lot to kind of play out there. And I think, when we get into 2021 and we see how the land lies, what guys have gone, what guys stay, we'll definitely be a bit more close to that. And, a really, really good division. So we look forward to seeing all these guys back in there. On to the next one, then we had Michelle Martin Yoni versus Wesley Meyer, and this fight was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed this fight. Wesley Meyer, obviously, he's just been brilliant. Obviously, since he took that loss to Jack Shaw a couple of years ago, and Martin Yoni obviously wasn't turning it to lose either, because he came in and got a unanimous decision there. So, Kieran, I'll come to you for this one first. What do you think of the fight, buddy? Because I was really excited by this one, and really impressed by both guys as well.
Yeah, man, it was such a back and forth fight. Both guys going absolutely hell for leather. Both guys knowing that a win in a bantamweight in a minute gets you very, very close to a title shot, because it seems writing's on the wall that Jack Cartwright's probably going to go into the UFC next for his next fight, depending on how things pan out with things that are out of his control. But both fighters going absolutely for it. I mean, Wesley Meyer showed in his previous fight against Adam Wilson what damage he can do with his leg kicks. I mean, they said that Martin Yoni this time, he was the guy that was doing the damage with leg kicks, but it was just so back and forth. I mean, it was a fight you just wanted to just absolutely gorge and just watch it time and time again. I mean, I've not had a chance to go and rewatch it yet, but there's a good chance to probably go and watch it tonight after we recorded this. But it was such a good fight. Both guys got they're going to both do fantastically well in that bantamweight division. There's a chance that they could meet in the future as well if things pan out, and they could meet for a bantamweight title in the future, I think. Yeah,
and Martin Yoni, he looked really badly hurt in the first round as well, didn't he? He got dropped a little bit, and he pulled it back round. You've got to give credit to that heart, that determination, and took the second 2 rounds. I mean, Stu, what was your thoughts on his performance and the way he's kind of brought it back?
Yeah, I mean, anybody gets hurt. I'd say MMA is one of these things. They always laugh about jiu-jitsu guys. Jiu-jitsu guys make horrible MMA fighters because they don't like getting punched in the face. So, I can imagine anybody that's getting punched is horrible. So, I mean, to come back from, to be hurt, to then come back and obviously take the next 2 rounds. I mean, I loved Meyer when he was coming out screaming. Obviously, we heard him screaming as the interviews were going on before the fight even started, and Meyer's in the back screaming and making loads of noise and stuff like that. So, and then obviously at the end of the fight, the other guy was screaming. So it was a great fight, definitely a great fight, a great 3 rounds it went.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hype behind him, and he really does hype up. I think like Kieran said about earlier fights, he's one of those guys that really thrives off a crowd. I know he didn't have it last time, but I think he just seems like that kind of guy that when he comes out the way he does, he's gonna get the crowd reacting and sort of making noise. And I think perhaps he does miss a little bit of that. I won't say it would have won him this fight on this occasion, but I think overall in terms of his performance, there's definitely a factor there. And 2 very exciting guys that we'll definitely look forward to seeing again. And honestly, I just can't wait to get back to these Cage Warrior shows now. I don't know how that's going to look in 2021, but I'm really hoping we do get some shows where, press and a small amount of fans can get back into too. I know they had a small amount of fans at the AJ fight last night, I think, in boxing, didn't they? So
yeah, there's a few.
Maybe not too far away before we get a few fans at least, and hopefully for us guys, some media as well into these shows. But that takes us on to the next fight then, which was Mehdi Ben Lakhdar versus Steve McIntosh. Obviously, Mehdi winning by TKO punches in the first round, 4 minutes 38 seconds in. Kieran, what did you think on this one, buddy?
I mean, Mehdi Ben Lakhdar just looked like an absolute killer, didn't he? I mean, he went out there and just, I think the word's dominated. I think that's the word I'd use. All credit to Stephen McIntosh, heart of a champion. He came out and he tried his best, and unfortunately, Mehdi Ben Lakhdar just sort of showcased what he could do, and ultimately, he won with a left hook that just absolutely floored Stevie. I mean, Mehdi's one of these guys that could, very well do really good things. That lightweight division, very wide open. Obviously, they had the title fight on the last night of the Trilogy. We'll speak about in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, Mehdi Ben Lakhdar, he just looked an absolute phenomenal striker in that fight.
Yeah, another guy. Is he ever in a boring fight? I don't know if I've ever seen Mehdi Ben Lakhdar in a boring fight.
I'll be honest, just look at the card from these. I think Caterers did 20 in a region of 20-25 fights, had 3 nights, and none of them were boring. You wouldn't say any of them were boring. It was fantastic. So again, all credit to Ian Dean and the team at Caterers. But yeah, Mehdi Ben Lakhdar, he doesn't do boring fights. He comes out and gives it all or nothing.
Yeah. What's next for him? Do you think? Where do you see him going now? Obviously, you said he's been about. He's fought with probably the best in that division, realistically. Where is he in terms of title contention, do you think?
I mean, you're probably thinking 1 or 2 more fights at the minute, because obviously Jack Grant's still in that division. You've got a few other guys as well. But I'd say 1 or 2 more fights. If he wins his next one by within the distance, maybe just the one. But he's definitely going to be a future Cage Warriors title contender. Yeah,
definitely. Stuart, I've been saving you for this one, Stu, because I wanted to bring you in on the next fight. Your own countryman, Aiden Stephen, he defeated Amorous via unanimous decision. First fight out on the main card on Cage Warriors 117. Obviously, Aiden, he suffered a defeat last night to a very, very talented Paul Hughes on the previous trilogy. I think he needed a win for this one. I know it's one loss is not a huge kind of dent, but knowing the kind of guy Aiden is, he really wanted to win there, and he fought a tough guy as well. What did you make of his performance in this one?
I think Aiden done absolutely spot on. I mean, obviously he'll be gutted that he didn't get submission. But I mean, yeah, as soon as he got on the guy's back, I mean, that was. I mean, he had control. He did everything right. As I said, the submission wasn't there. So for him to even get 3 rounds under his belt, full 3 rounds, and come out with a decision was absolutely brilliant. So happy for Aiden. Because as I said, he definitely deserves it. I mean, he's put a lot into it. Again, this is one person we talked about potentially going full time, because obviously he's still working, he's still doing things. So obviously talking about him going full time as a fighter. I know Peter was talking about it, saying he would definitely like to see him go full time. So we'll definitely see what happens. I mean, Aiden comes out a great camp, obviously where he's fighting from. He was actually. I don't know if you've seen, but the bit of controversy was his corner man. I don't know if you've seen the video, but his corner man put out to fist bump him, and he completely ignored him. So Kevin sent me the video and says, "Stuart, look what happened." So it was very, very funny. I know Kevin got a lot of stick from his team for that. So, but yeah, no, listen, Aiden did brilliant. As I said, looking forward to seeing what Aiden's going to do next.
Yeah, and obviously his opponent Emma is a really, really talented kid as well. So to get a win there was really impressive. And I think the story of it really was Aiden's composure there, Kieran. I don't know how you feel about that, but every time kind of Emma would push, he'd get a takedown. Aiden would kind of reverse the position, end up on the back. It was just that little kind of bit of experience I felt that was the difference on the night. Not much in it, but Aiden just kind of seemed to have the edge there. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's just that ability to realise I'm in a bad position. This is how I'm going to get out of this position, and then ultimately do it. I mean, that just take that little split second to think about things, and it really paid off. I mean, any time that Emma looked to be, mounting any pressure or getting into a position where potentially get into a fight winning sequence. Aiden just sort of slipped out of it, and I mean, came out with a decision win. I mean, it's just a fantastic fight again from him, fantastic performance. I mean, but yeah, definitely taking that little split second just to think about, I'm in a dangerous position, this is how I'm going to get out of it, and then complete the maneuver. That was definitely the sort of the winning factor there for me.
Yeah, big congratulations to Aiden. Obviously, guys got a lot of fans at MMA UK and right across Scotland and the UK. So, big shout out to him, and big shout out to Emma as well, because he's another guy I think has got a big future ahead of him. He comes from a great camp, really put a good effort in. What do you see for both these guys coming up, Stu? What do you think's next for both of them?
Aiden, I mean, yeah, I don't know exactly know what Aiden's going to do. I know that Kevin was saying get him on the show tonight, so he could come on and obviously have a talk about it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we'll see. I mean, obviously, his team will have to sit down and kind of look and see what they're going to do next. Whatever he does, I mean, as I said, it's everybody in Scotland's 100% behind. Not just him, but obviously, like your Stevie McIntosh, Luke Shanks, and so on. So we were all excited about having them all on and seeing them all. So yeah, we're looking forward to definitely seeing what he's going to do next.
And for Emra, Key, what do you think Emra does next?
I think it maybe takes a little bit of time out. It takes this time between these Cage Warriors events and the next Cage Warriors event in March. It takes a little bit of time. Maybe goes to rethinks things. Maybe thinks about potentially moving up a weight class or change division. Maybe change the camp a little bit. But I think he comes out and then he has a few good fights. I mean, if he puts again a string of wins together at 145, I mean, there's every chance in the world he gets a title shot next year or the year after. Yeah.
I think he does go up. He is quite big for the weight class, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a big dude. I mean, I was surprised to see that he could make 145. But yeah, bigger guys like that. We know, obviously, featherweights now gradually getting bigger. I mean, you look at the UFC and look at the size of some of the featherweights in there at the minute. It's quite plain to see. But there's all the, as long as his diet and stuff's okay and he's got a good nutritionist around him, I don't think there's any sort of real need to. But if he feels that he's going to get more power and performance out of training at 155, there's every chance he could make that jump.
Yeah, I suppose the issue is then you go up to lightweight, and the guys at lightweight like Jack Grant, they're big for lightweight, I suppose, in a lot of ways. So
I mean, it's jumping from one Shark Tank to the other. Really, it really is in Cage Warriors.
Yeah, definitely. So that was the main card of Cage Warriors 117. The first night of fights, Thursday evening. It's actually great for us, hardcore fans to have fights on in the week of that quality, and I was loving it. And to have sort of Thursday going into Friday. Very excited, and obviously we'll start off that card with an absolute insane middleweight contest. It was for the middleweight belt, and it was between Matthias Frederick and Jamie Richardson. Ended in a knockout. Jamie Richardson had a really good first round, a pretty good second round, but Matthias Frederick, obviously the absolute beast that he is, caught him with a punch from hell and just laid him out cold. And I mean, it was one of those fights, I think, as fans watching, we all kind of felt that's how it could go. It's either going to be Jamie, moving, hitting him with clean boxing, or it could be that, Matthias does land that big shot. And, we all knew what would happen if it did. Kieran, I'll come to you first on this one, buddy. What was your thoughts on the fight overall, and obviously the way it ended?
I mean, it's just another fantastic performance from Matthias Frederick, but it's a great fight in general as well. Jamie Richardson really tested him for those first two rounds. He didn't make it easy for Frederick. It looked as though in the third round he might have been looking to get his bike a bit more, use a bit more movement. We know with Jamie Richardson's obviously got fantastic boxing. We started his sort of MMA career transitioning from boxing into MMA. Just not in that third round, cornered him off, caught him clean with a left hook that just landed. You couldn't ask to land a more perfect punch. But yeah, the one thing I had an issue with is it looked to me like both guys looked to be slipping a bit in the cage. I don't know if that was just because it was cold in the arena, there's condensation on the mat, so the spray of disinfectant between fights was maybe a little too heavy. But they're slipping a lot. I think that killed some of the action a little bit where both guys tried moving in. Matthias, especially with the way he set his stance, he definitely looked to be slipping a bit more, especially on his lead leg. So whether that could have played a factor, and I don't know. But Matthias looked phenomenal. I'm starting to say I don't think he gets a call up to the UFC though. We know he's a bit of an older guy. He's 37 years old. The UFC has just caught Amorous, who's an older middleweight. The UFC at the minute is probably going to take on younger guys that are not going to ask for a lot of money, and the guys that can sort of build up to be the next future stars. Unfortunately, Natty doesn't really fit that mold for them. But on a British team, he's absolutely killing it right now. He's got a good management team around him, heavy duty. I think if he doesn't go to UFC, please, Ian Dean, if you're watching this, Webb versus Frederick 3, please.
Do you think if he doesn't go to the UFC, it might be a call up to Bellator Europe or Bellator UK? Which one do we call it? Bellator Europe, right?
I think it's Bellator Europe. Yeah, there's definitely. I know heavy duty management have definitely got contacts on the Bellator, and they've got a few guys on there already. So that's definitely a possibility. But I don't know. It all depends on. Obviously, Bellator only did the one show in Europe this year. That was in Dublin, apart from the closed door events where fans couldn't go in, and they weren't exactly fantastic events, really. But yeah, I don't know. I just think if we don't get that Webb versus Frederick 3 fight, I think it's a waste of the rivalry. We know they don't get on. We know there's a rivalry there. We know the first fight was contentious. The second fight, it could have been. Some people saying it was an early stoppage, and they don't like each other. And it sells tickets. I mean, if you could have fans at the arena next year and you don't have Natai Frederick versus James Webb on that card, I mean, it'd just be a real shame.
Yeah. Stu, what's your thoughts? I mean, obviously, Matthias, he's won he's drawn for the belt. He's won the belt, and now he's defended it. I mean, do you think he hangs around for a trilogy match with Webb, or do you think he tries to go one way or another, whether it be UFC or Bellator?
Yeah, I think Kieran's right. I mean, UFC, I don't see UFC coming in, but again, because of the age thing. I mean, as we know, UFC are cutting a lot of people at the moment. I mean, obviously the big one, Yoel Romero. I think Yoel still had 3 fights left on his contract, and obviously mutually agreed to let them go, again because of his age. So Bellator, yeah, I mean, it could be good for him to come into Bellator. Obviously Bellator Europe and do something there. And as you say, the match there with Webb as well. So I mean, there's a few options for him. I'd say UFC. I know he was talking about the UFC in a video that he did, the interview he did after it. He was talking about the UFC, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't see that happening at all. I mean, he's good enough to go in there. He is good enough. I mean, that performance on Friday was awesome. I mean, even after it, he showed a bit of class. Obviously, threw that additional punch in, and he came away apologising and things like that. So, definitely a classy guy.
What did you think of this fight, Stu? Obviously, a huge knockout at the end. You couldn't ask for a better knockout there. What did you think of the performance of both guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good fight. It was a really good fight. Obviously, that knockout at the end was just, yeah. I mean, one punch and that was it. That was it over. As I said, he didn't need to throw in another punch. But again, as I said, it's down to the referee. I mean, it's the referee you have to continue as a fighter to keep punching or to keep doing what you're doing until the referee stops you. So, but again, as I say, for him apologising after it. But I mean, the fight itself, I was enjoying the fight up until that happened. Well, I enjoyed it once that happened as well, but it was definitely a good fight. Definitely a good fight.
Yeah, it's a great way to end the card. Cage Wars 118 there. Just before that, we saw Wales, King of Cardiff, Aaron Khalid lose a split decision to Italian Leonardo Damiani. It was a split decision loss. A lot of people didn't agree with that. A lot of people thought that Damiani had taken it clearly. Obviously, for me, I was very disappointed to see my fellow countryman take a loss there. I know Aaron will be very disappointed as well because he was really on the cusp of a title shot. I think a lot of people thought he would have had this fight for a potential vacant welterweight belt. Didn't happen, and obviously then he takes a late notice fight against this Italian guy, and he loses. Kieran, I'll come to you first on this one. What did you make of the fight and the performance of both guys?
I mean, Damiani is coming on 9 days' notice, and then to beat Aaron Khalid, who's obviously he was a guy that's going to be pushing for the title shot. And the title shot was pretty much nailed on for him before the fight. But yeah, Damiani came on 9 days' notice. I know he told Leonard Ali, he didn't really like people saying that because he'd been training pretty much all year round anyway. He trains every day. But still, to come in on 9 days, prepare for an opponent, do the study on him, do the weight cut, do everything like that, get travel and sort out all the COVID stuff as well. I mean, that was impressive in his performance as well. I mean, I personally had it as a clean decision for him. I thought he did enough to beat Aaron Khalid in all 3 rounds as well. But yeah, I mean, that 170 division, that's going to heat up a little bit. I think Damiani is going to do really well there if he's come back for a second fight. We know he's training a good team out there as well. The top team in, I think it's Rome. Yeah, he's doing fantastically well. I mean, 170, it's really going to heat up. And I think Damiani could be the forefront of the Europeans taking on the British fighters in that division.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you have to give him credit as well. Like, I know a lot of people thought that he was going to kind of gas out. He won that first round, striking, and his boxing particularly looked very good in this one. But every time Khalid kind of pushed, got a takedown, he bounced straight back up, ended up landing a couple of takedowns of his own. Stu, were you impressed with the way he fought?
I was, yeah. I mean, it's coming in on, as Kieran said, 9 days' notice. You kind of thought that Khalid was going to come in and just go through him. But, yeah, I mean, the Italian boy did brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Came in. Again, I don't know how much of a game plan you can put together in 9 days. But, yeah, I mean, whatever game plan they put together, I mean, they kind of, it seemed to go okay. So, yeah, again, another good fight, another very, very close fight. And that kind of happened. There was quite a few fights over the 3 days that were very, very close, which, again, got us talking on the WhatsApp group. So, again, this was one of them that we kind of went back and forward, obviously, ourselves and Peter and stuff like that we kind of spoke about. So, very close fight.
Yeah, and just to kind of touch on that, obviously, we've got our own little chat group, the MMA UK staff. We talk, we watch the fights together sometimes, and one of the things we did end up arguing quite a lot about on this card was the decisions. A lot of us kind of felt, we'll be honest, a lot of the judges' decisions were questioned by us. I'll come to you first, Stu. Did you think the judging was good over the course of this weekend, or do you think they were a couple of dodgy ones?
Do you know, there was a couple of dodgy ones. There was I know that we kind of had a back and forward about a couple of the fights. So there was a couple for me. The judges were. Do you know what I mean? You were thinking, well, don't get me wrong, the judging, again, some of the fights were that close that it was kind of hard. So they obviously picked whoever it was maybe more dominant in the last round or whatever to win the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, the big thing we had the argument about was the 10-10 round or the draw. Talking about the draw, I know that was a heated debate. I mean, that was still going on today, and that was 24 hours later. So yeah, I mean, there was a few decisions, but again, I mean, it's MMA. I mean, Dana White says it. Never leave it in the hand of the judges, because if you want a decision to go your way, make sure that you do everything you can to win that fight. Definitely don't let the judges win it for you.
Yeah, definitely. And Kieran, what do you think's next for both these guys now? Obviously, Khalid, he's going to be really disappointed with this loss because he's been right up there for a while. He's beaten a lot of the top guys. But what do you think he does next now?
I mean, he's got to take a bit of time to think about maybe what has he got to change in his game? Has he got to go to a different camp? Has he got to look at who his coaching staff are? Look at maybe to need to change something in his nutrition, but ultimately he's got to come back and he's got to win his next few fights if he wants to get into that welterweight title shot. We know it's going to take a lot to get called to the UFC at welterweight because we know how deep a division it is in the UFC. So he's really got to come out and do something now to prove to not only the matchmakers, the caterers, that he deserves a title shot, but to the guys in the UFC who make the call-ups and decide on who's going to come up from caterers to the UFC. So he's going to have to go and really think about things, think about his coaching staff, think about his nutritionists, thinking about, does he need to change something in his own preparation? Do he need to change his strength and conditioning programs? Just things like that. See if that those little tweaks can make a change. But ultimately, he's got to come back and he's got to win his next couple of fights to do anything. Yeah,
definitely. And like I said, we wish all these guys all the best. I know Aaron he's a great guy. I know one thing I did want to mention as well was that one thing he said in the kind of the pre-fight build-up was that he really wanted to display his striking in this one. Obviously, he came in against a seasoned boxer. Do you think that was kind of a mistake for him? I know it was his 9 days notice for him as well, but do you think he kind of would have been better off just sticking to his strength and really pushing the takedowns more in this fight? Or I don't know, what's your thoughts on that, Kia? Because I did think he seemed to be a little bit outboxed by Michelle in this one. So I don't know, what was your take on that?
I mean, for me, if I was preparing for a fight and I got told, oh yeah, this guy's predominantly a boxer, and you're taking him on 9 days' notice, my game plan is going to be take him to the floor because I know he's not going to be able to prepare anything for my ground game in that short space of time. That to me just seems a very simple decision to make. But I don't know if the decision for Aaron to showcase his striking was made before that, and if he'd been working on his striking a lot during his camp. If he'd been working on striking a lot during camp, and then when the opponent change came quite late in the day, then maybe it was the right decision to try and stick with the striking. But for me, if I'd have been told, oh yeah, the guy taking on is predominantly a boxer, then my option would have been, my personal choice would have been, right, I'm going to work on a ground game or work on a game plan that's predominantly ground game based.
Yeah, no, fair play. That's one thing I was wondering, because it was mentioned quite a few times in the build up to that. So just a thought really with one. But obviously that takes us to the next fight then, which was the return of Matt Inman, a Cage Warriors legend, and he lost a split decision. No, sorry, he lost a unanimous decision to Matthew Bonner. A really good fight, an absolute war. Matt Inman, obviously, he lost the first 2 rounds, but he really tried to pull it back at the end. Stu, what do you make of this one? What do you think of Inman's return, and obviously Bonner taking the win there?
Yeah, I mean, that was an absolute brawl from start to finish. I mean, that was absolutely brilliant to watch. Obviously, Inman, jiu-jitsu guy. As I said, I was sitting there the whole fight expecting it to go to the ground, and it didn't at all. I mean, you mentioned that just there about maybe fighters not sticking to know what they're good at or what they're more stronger at, and then trying to do something else. So as I said, I was just expecting Inman to take it down at some point and then maybe watch some jiu-jitsu. But I mean, it was an absolute brilliant fight from start to finish. It was a great watch for obviously everybody watching at home.
Yeah, and Key, what's your thoughts on that? Obviously a big win for Bonner there, and a good return for Matt after a good bit of time away to come back in and really end the stronger. What did you think of it?
I'll come out and first say that I don't agree with the decision on the judges' scorecards. I thought Inman won the fight. I sat downstairs with my dad to watch the fight, and to me, Inman looked really landed the cleaner strikes. It looked like Bonner was sort of winging the strikes a bit, and he was sometimes winning on aggression. So there was one portion, I think it was like 20 seconds in the last 20 seconds of round 2, and Bonner was like just throwing haymakers, and I think he maybe landed 2 or 3, but Inman threw like maybe 4 or 5 shots and landed clean with each one, but because they didn't want to be more damaging shots, the judges probably scored it on aggression and damage to Bonner. That to me is just something that needs changing in the sort of judging rule set. But yeah, I saw with Stoomboy on this. I thought he was going to take it down. I train under one of Matt's former coaches, Matt's former pupil, Kev Taylor in Parade MMA Chesterfield, and he was saying that he expected Matt actually to come out and strike with Bonner. They'd obviously seen Bonner in his last fight had gone on the mat with George Smith, who's a very talented grappler in judo. Got a win on the ground, but yeah, I was really surprised by that. But Matt I'm interested to see where it goes. I think Matthew Bonner as well, now that he's put 2 wins against SBG Manchester guys. I mean, let's see what Cage Warriors do with him. Do they want to try and build a narrative around him being like a guy that just dominates guys from the north? Do they want to try and push him towards a title shot or something like that? But yeah, I'm really excited to see where both these guys go. Matt Inman, it looked to me pretty good. I'd say that 3 out of the cage, and I think both guys are going to do. 2021 is going to be a big year for both guys. Yeah,
brilliant. It was a great fight. I was sitting there and watching these 2 guys go at it. It was obviously basically all took part on the feet, and it really was a war. Like Stoomboy said, we all enjoyed this fight, and really look forward to see both guys back in there after that one. So yeah, that was that one. The next fight then we had was Madaz Fleminus, and he defeated Mick Stanton by unanimous decision. Stoomboy, I'll come to you first on this one. What was your take on this matchup, buddy?
Okay, and this was the same as the Inman and Bonner fight. I mean, this was just absolute brawl. I mean, the guys were going at it. I mean, especially that last round. They just kind of seem to think, well, do you know what? It's the last 5 minutes. Let's just go for it. And they just absolutely went for it. So great to see. I know that there was a bit of scrambling going on. I think it was in the second round, I'm sure. So a little bit of scramble going on there. So, but yeah, again, another great fight for anybody watching at home to be watching.
Yeah, Key, what do you make of this one? It was another good. like you said earlier, every fight was a good fight, wasn't it? There wasn't a boring fight on any of these 3 cards, which is kind of crazy. Like even you get UFC cards sometimes, and you have a bit of a stinker sometimes, but with these Cage Warriors ones, every one seems to just be just great matchups, isn't they?
Yeah, I mean, this fight again, the matchmaker was fantastic. You know, both guys came off a two loss streak, so both guys were just hungry for that win, and it told in that fight. Both guys came out and threw everything they had into that. It's just, you know, Medar's just a little better fight over the 3 rounds, I thought. But you know, Mick shouldn't be disappointed with that result. He came out, he performed pretty well for me. But yeah, Medar's just did that a little bit more to edge the judges' decisions, but it is what it is. I'm not sure where Mick really goes now. He's now saying his record 6-6, 6-5, somewhere around that sort of margin. Yeah. So I don't know what Cage Warriors really want to do with him now. Medars, if we can put another couple of wins together, then we'll see what's got in stock for him. But he's definitely a guy that tests.
I think we've lost you there, Set Key. Have you need to put a pound in the meat there? I think, buddy, for the Wi-Fi there. Or you're just really good at holding that pose. I hope no one's screenshotting these poses of Kieran frozen there. Kieran, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back with you, man.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Just saying, both guys gave it everything in that fight. No guy should be disappointed. Neither guy should be disappointed with how it went. But yeah, Fleming, if he gets a few wins, he could really test the guys at welterweight, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, and that lets us to the first fight of the card then, the main card, which was Decky McAleenan, and he defeated Adam Ventura via a rear naked choke in round 2. Big win for him, another guy with a lot of support. Stoomboy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this was, again, a grappling. There was a lot of grappling in this one, so I definitely enjoyed this one. I mean, obviously, Ventry came out straight away, man, ready to go for it. And it was interesting because obviously we know that Ventry had missed the weight. So it was kind of hard when you look at maybe somebody that's kind of missed weight. How is their approach to the actual fight? Because the weight cuts, I mean, I've seen some scary weight cuts over the time, obviously UFC fighters and stuff like that, where they've tried to cut a certain amount of weight and it never happened. So I don't know how Ventry, but he did well. I mean, he came out and did exactly what he wanted to do. And then obviously McAleenan, obviously obviously managed to get that rear naked choke at the end. And I think it was round 2. Was it round 2? So, but yeah, great fight, great grappling fight. As I said, I really, really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, what was your thoughts, Keith?
I mean, first off, let's just talk about Ventura missing that weight by that's such a considerable amount. I mean, was it 6.5 something pounds, somewhere in that sort of margin? They missed weight by, which to me shocked me because we obviously knew that last year Paddy had an issue with his opponent missing weight by 7 pounds and the fight not going ahead. So I thought Ventura coming out of a gym where they had issues with opponent before, missing weight, I thought he'd have been the guy you'd bet your house on to make weight, and that the guys in the next generation take that really seriously. He did put a statement out on social media after saying that basically he just stopped sweating. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe that's something that him and his coaches need to address, and whether that's means having to move up in weight or not, I don't know. But Decky, that second round came out, got a choke win. Does great things for him at 155. Again, that 155 division. I mean, where do you go? I mean, personally, I quite like to see Decky McAleenan versus Mediban Lakdar. I think that would be a great fight to have next.
Yeah,
I mean, both guys coming on wins. I mean, that's matchmaking 1-1 for me. You put the guys who are winning against each other to see who's the better fighter, and when it gets closer to a title shot. But that to me is where you go with that. But yeah, great performance from McAleenan.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that was the last fight on the main card there at Cage Warriors 118. Did want to speak about a couple on the preliminary card this one, because there was a few good fights. The first one I've got to mention was the top of the preliminary card, which was Liam Gittins, who got a triangle choke against Josh Reed. Obviously, Josh, he won his last 2 fights. He's looking really good, and I know training really hard as well. So obviously, he would be disappointed with our loss. It was quite a close first 2 rounds as far as it got. He kind of just sort of seemed to fall into that triangle choke. Stonewall, I don't know what you thought about that. Obviously, I know Josh works really, really hard on his submissions and submission defense, and I didn't expect Liam to be able to come out and submit him like that. What do you think of that one?
Do you know what? This was the one prelims I didn't get to see due to work. So by the time I come home from work, that I got to, I think it was just about 10 minutes before the main event started, the main card started. So yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to see that. Obviously, I'm looking at the results. Obviously, triangle choke after about a minute in round 2. So again, it would have been a nice, definitely a nice fight for me to watch. As I definitely love grappling and submissions and things like that. So,
what was your thoughts, Key? Did you see these ones?
Yeah, I got to see this. I was lucky enough to be able to watch the majority of the fights. I think it was only 1 or 2 where I had sort of work while watching them, so that was a bit difficult. But yeah, was lucky enough to catch this one. Josh obviously won that first round for me. But then the second round, I don't know what happened. He just did look to be scrapping on the floor, and Gittins just managed to wrap in a triangle out of sort of nowhere. Like I don't know what happened. I couldn't see the build to itself, so I didn't see any setup in it. So for Josh, where he came in, it came into this fight on the back of 2 wins as well. I mean, this has got to be disappointing. I know he put something on social media after, sort of talking about his performance, and I think that from my perspective, Josh has got a lot there to build off. I mean, it wasn't the result he wanted, but that first round, there's definitely things he can build off there, and then it's just a matter of maybe just working a bit more on that submission defense and just looking at more how opponents are setting up to take him on the mat.
Yeah, and a big win for Liam as well. There, Josh Reed is a big name in that division. He's beaten a lot of the top guys and lost to a lot of the top guys as well. He's fought for a title previously, so definitely a big prospect in that division. But for Liam to get a win there, it's a big deal, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. 135. We know that division has got a storied history of fighters going up to the UFC as well. So Jack Shaw and Nathaniel Wood have both gone up from being 135 champions. So you definitely want to get towards that belt, and by beating guys like Josh Reed, you get closer to it. Especially Josh being a former title contender, being in the Cage Warriors Unplugged tournament last year. But yeah, Liam looked fantastic. Managed came back from a weak round 1 to win. Always looks good. Everyone likes a comeback win, so definitely good things for him, and hopefully we'll get to see a bit more of him next year.
Yeah, definitely. I just lost 2, and I just got to give a quick mention to Steve Amiable, who defeated Tom Moons. Obviously, Steve had a couple of losses in a row. He was really looking for a win there, and he got a lovely knockout over Tom Moons, another veteran who was looking for a win. So, big shout out to Steve. I know he'll be really happy to get back on track with that one. And got to give a mention to Nathan Fletcher as well, who got his rear naked choke win over Lee Mitchell, and another guy who's sort of come out of the Cage Warriors Academy up in Liverpool, really pressing on in his professional career now and looking great every time. And another guy who's come out of the academy is Ben Ellis. He defeated Kingsley Crawford. It was a unanimous decision, a really close fight. It was a dominant first round for Ben, and then it started to get closer as the fights went on against a really game Kingsley Crawford. And I know a lot of people down here in Wales are expecting big things from Ben, so another win for him, 3-0 now, and some really good young talent there coming out of all their respective regions. So a great way to start that card, and I think it is something Cage Warriors do really well. They always get the younger guys on and give them that exposure on these big cards, and these are no different, and the young guys shone through. So big congratulations to all those we just mentioned, and that takes us on to the last card, Saturday evening, Cage Warriors 119, and this was headlined by another title fight, the third title fight, Morgan Chariot versus Perry Goodwin for the Cage Warriors Featherweight World Championship. Obviously, Morgan getting a win there by a KO with an absolutely vicious liver shot or body shot. I don't know which one it was, but it looked like it hurt. Stu, I'll come to you first on this one. What do you make of that finish, buddy?
Man, that was, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know if it was a liver shot, a kidney shot, or whatever shot it was, but it certainly did the damage. As I said, he was kind of, again, he was quite strong. I mean, see, when you see Morgan coming out, he was very strong. He was imposing as well. And yeah, I mean, it looked very early on that he was going to get it. As I said, and yeah, I mean that shot. I mean that's probably got to be one of the best kind of body shots that you've seen, and it's not very often you'll see a body shot that'll put someone out of the fight, that'll basically get a TKO over someone. So very, very impressed with Morgan. I wasn't impressed with his back tattoo. It was I don't know if you've seen his back tattoo, but it was the most horrible back tattoo you've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, fighting skills, he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. What do you make of this one, Kieran? Obviously a big win for Morgan. He's been on the rise. He's obviously big news in France right now, which I guess is great news for Cage Warriors because MMA shows have started taking place over there now. But
yeah,
he looked absolutely savage with the shots he was throwing, and obviously as we know, Perry Goodwin is no joke. So to finish him like that with such a sort of clinical highlight reel knockout, it's not a bad way to end the night, is it?
Yeah, I mean he put pressure on Perry from the get go. Really, I mean the first 2 rounds, he just kept Perry up against that fence. Didn't really let Perry get anything in. Kept just chopping up that. I mean, Perry's leg. I don't know how he's managed to go to work. I think he went to work back to work today as well. How he was working on that leg after he got chopped up so badly in that fight, I don't know. But for Morgan as well to deal with Perry's trash talk as well. And I don't know if anyone's seen the Cage Warriors sort of vlogs and stuff from that series, but Perry just calling him superstar and then just shouting "red car" in his face while they wait in was incredible. And Morgan just sort of dealt with it and just sort of kept a straight face, dealt with it, came out, showed he is a bit of a superstar. That body shot, I mean, I've got a bit of fat on me, but I'm pretty sure if Morgan hit me with that, I'd still go down. But yeah, I think Morgan now is probably UFC bound, unfortunately for Cage Warriors. I mean, Cage Warriors, we know they want to hold the show in France. It's pretty self-explanatory why they want to do it when they've got a guy like Morgan at the top of their bill. But we also know the UFC want to do a show in France, and if they've got Morgan Chariot, who's got a huge following, and Francis Ngannou on a card, I mean, I don't know. There's a couple of arenas in Paris I'm sure they could sell out and do really good numbers at when fans can come back into arenas. But yeah, Morgan looked like a superstar. Definitely destined for the UFC for me.
Yeah, to be honest, for me, I think it is destined for the UFC. It's whether or not the timeline comes in time for him, and I suppose it really all depends on COVID at the moment, doesn't it? If UFC will announce early next year that they'll be doing shows with a crowd. I mean, obviously we have Bellator out in Paris with a small crowd. So I mean, if UFC were to announce something like that, then I definitely see him going. In between, I think he might get another fight in. I really do think he might get another fight in for Cage Warriors either way. Like I said, the UFC, they don't seem to be signing as many people at the moment either. I know he is a bit of a superstar. There's no doubt. Like we've seen every fight he's had so much support on Twitter. It really is unprecedented for a guy, at that level. So I'd love to see him stick around for another Cage Warriors fight personally, just to kind of soak up a little bit more of that. Of that level of fighter before he goes and experience that on the regional level, I should say. So
he's definitely a game enough fighter as well to take a fight. And if Indy came to him and said, "Do you want to fight?" He's definitely the kind of guy who's go, "Yeah, go on, why not?" But yeah, he's UFC bound, but there's every possibility there that he takes on another fight in Cage Warriors first.
Yeah, definitely. That was the main fight of Cage Warriors 119. Another big card there. That was. Now that we've come to the second title fight here, which was Agi Sadari, and he defeated Jack Grant for the Cage Warriors Lightweight World Championship. Split decision. Obviously, the lightweight belt has been won by some absolute animals over the last couple of years. We've obviously had Mason who's won it, and he's gone to the UFC. Before that, we had Jai Herbert who'd won it and gone to the UFC. So there's some huge fights from there. Big names, and we had another big card with these two guys. So Jack Grant fought for a title before and lost his second time now. Kieran, what do you think? First of all, what do you think of the fight overall, and what do you think of the decision, Kieran? It was a split, one of many split decisions over these cards. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, you could have scored this fight either way, and I don't think anyone was going to sort of argue against you, really. I mean, for me, I thought I had Jack winning the first 3 rounds. Just tends to be putting a bit more pressure on, doing a bit more damage. But Sadari definitely took the last 2. But I think it's probably round 3, depending on how you scored that round for me. If you had Sadari winning, or if you had Jack Grant winning. But yeah, he came out and gave a good account of himself. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough this time. definitely a better performance than his last title fight because he managed to go all 5 rounds, didn't get caught or knocked out. I know he spoke in the VT before that fight that he wasn't in the moment, he wasn't quite ready. Something just wasn't clicking for him. It definitely looked like it was clicking for him last night. But Sadari, man, I mean, his defensive wrestling, I think that was the story of the fight. The fact he managed to keep on the feet, didn't let Jack get the fight to the ground. We know Jack's an incredible grappler. But he also made sure to tie Jack's arms up. I mean, I've seen Jack, I think it was a cage warrior show in Liverpool 1 or 2 years ago, where as soon as he gets an arm free in the clinch, he starts elbowing you in your head. I can't remember the guy he took on, but his elbows were just that vicious. They knocked the guy out, and it didn't really give him any sort of chance to get back up because he jumped on him with ground pound after. So Sadari there, just his technical defensive ability, I think that was a sort of deciding factor in this fight, and the fact he was able to stop Jack getting the takedowns and was able to, when it did hit the mat, he was able to do enough to get back up. That to me is where the fight was won for him.
Yeah, no, it was a very close fight there. New champion there, Stu, in the lightweight division. What was your thoughts on the new champion performance?
Yeah, I mean, again, good performance. Exactly the same as what Kieran said. I mean, Grant, for me, definitely had the first 2 rounds. Obviously, I believe he dropped him. He dropped him in the second round as well. So it was definitely Grant's first 2 rounds. Third round, obviously, they came out. It was a little bit more even. And then, obviously, Sadari kind of picked up the last 2 rounds. So, again, it was one of these fights where, and again, we spoke a lot about it last night, where it was, some of us had Grant winning it, some of us had Sadari winning it. So, and again, it just shows you, I mean, the fact that we're all talking about how close the fights were and how bad the decisions were, it just shows you how close the actual fights were when they were on. So definitely another great fight for the people that were watching to be seen.
Yeah. What do you think Jack Grant fights next? He's been through our division quite a lot now, and he's still at the top with that performance, isn't he? I know he lost, but he's still. I don't think it's the case where he gets chucked to the bottom of the pile here. Like he's only 1 shot away, only 1 win away from another shot for me. But who is that other fight going to be?
I personally think a fight against Joe McColgan. I think that'd be quite a good fight to watch. I don't know who else should really chuck in there at the minute for him. It's a bit difficult because we obviously know he's a top contender, and Sadari is a good chance he might be called up. It depends on the cage. I think 155 and getting called up from cage race all depends on the UFC and how things have been handled with Khabib, and that all sort of floats down, and then the COVID situation as well. But yeah, I think Joe McColgan's the one that probably stands out from there. Both on the same night. Joe put on a dominant performance. He won by KO. So that for me is probably where I'd go with that one. I think again it'd be an exciting fight. And if we're going to do a show, cage race show in Ireland next year, I mean this card we're going to talk about now is definitely, there's with several guys on here and several fights probably on here that we're going to reference and say that take the show to Ireland, put these guys on. I think Joe McColgan versus Jack Grant in Ireland would be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works now for you with that because obviously Joe McColgan is kind of in a similar position to Jack Grant. He fought for a title last time against Mason Jones, a real dominant lightweight, undefeated 10-0. Took a loss, but he came back and got a knockout of his own. Now we'll come straight to that fight in a second, and we'll come back to the others. But Joe McColgan, he took on Kieran Lister, an undefeated guy, 7-0, and he looked amazing. He got a knockout. He said he didn't think that his opponent had been tested, and he proved it with a really lovely finish. My question now, with that in mind, is: does Joe McColgan call out Sadari, and does he get the next title shot and kind of skip Jack Grant? I don't know if that's the possibility and what could be the move. What's your thoughts on that?
I think Sadari and Grant should go at it again. Yeah. I mean, as I say, because it was being a split decision. As I said, a split decision. Yourself. I mean, if it was a full decision, at 50-45, then you'd be like, do you know what? I won it, no problem. But for it to be a split decision, I reckon they two can run it again, and then see what happens. And then obviously the winner, then obviously McColgan can look at taking on the winner. And then see what happens with that.
Yeah, Kieran, do you think there's any chance we see McColgan straight back in for the title? Because the thing is as well with McColgan, he's 34 years old. I think, I think maybe he does get pushed a little bit more because of that age, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get the next title shot. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
I mean, there's definitely an argument there to put him in there if he's 34 years old. He's coming off a KO win. There's definitely every argument to put him in there, but I think, like Stoomboy said, maybe the way around it is you do Sadari versus Jack Grant, a rematch for it being a split decision, and then he gets the win. I think, to me, that seems like the most logical decision that I've heard. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did book Sadari versus McColgan just to get their fight there. And maybe while that's going on, Jack Grant takes on another 155. They bring someone in for him, or he maybe just takes time off to heal up, and then maybe takes the winner of that fight. So who knows? Yeah.
A lot of options in that lightweight division, as always. I suppose it's such a stacked division, as you said, right the way down. It always is. There's so many good fighters there, but another guy we'll talk about now. The fight that happened, one before that, which was for me my favorite fight of the whole trilogy. One of the most controversial as well in our chat group. Jordan Vucenic, and he fought Paul Hughes, an undefeated Paul Hughes. He was 6-0. Vucenic was 6-1. A really great matchup of two guys who have mirrored each other right the way through their careers, coming at it and fighting for what they believe is the number one contender spot. Obviously, Jordan Vucenic took a split decision. It was a back and forth all the way through. Kieran, I'll come to you first on this one. First of all, what a fight! It really was such a technical battle between these two guys. How did you score it first of all, and what did you think of the fight?
Me personally, I had it 47, 29-28. Sorry, for Paul Hughes. I thought that the fight, for me, he won. I think he won the first round. I think the second round probably lost. Sorry, and then the third round was a really toss up with the grappling exchange we saw in that third round. Yeah. For me, he looked the more aggressive fight. But like yourself, I think this is the best fight of the trilogy. I think there's an argument to be made that this was the fight of the year for Cage Warriors. We'll see. I think when they do their sort of awards at the end of the year, we'll sort of see this right up there. A lot of comments online saying that, we run this over 5 rounds and see how it goes. And I think if Chariot gets called up to the UFC, then make this fight for the title. Do it in Ireland. Put it in a crowd. Put it in where we can have a crowd. Once we can have them back, hopefully we can get them back next year. Put it in a crowd in an auditorium in Ireland, and just let their fans make some absolute noise. Because if you didn't love that fight, you're not a fight fan. I'm sorry. It's as simple as that. That fight was everything we love about MMA and more. I know Ian, Gary, and Paul were having a bit of banter on one of the Cage Warriors episodes in the build-up, saying that Ian was giving Paul a bit of stick, saying, "You'll be on my undercard." Sorry to say, Ian, I think if that fight gets run back, you're on Paul's undercard.
Yeah, both these guys are so good, so talented, and they're so young as well. And honestly, I think these are the reason now. We're going to start to see these guys coming through who are just super talented from the UK, because I think there's definitely been this stigma, and you might be able to speak a bit about this too, but in history of the UFC, the British fighters have always struggled with the wrestling and grappling side of things. It's got a lot better over the last couple of years, definitely. But now when you see a guy like Paul Hughes, the way he scrambled out of some of those takedowns and got his own takedowns, I mean, it's high level stuff, isn't it? What was your take on these guys' abilities in the grappling and wrestling exchanges?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, as I said, Jordan was taking them down, attempted submissions and things like that. And Paul Hughes, I mean, wrestling defense and stuff like that was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, right. I mean, back in the day, British fighters wrestling wasn't the best, but certainly over the last maybe 10 years, it's gotten a lot better. And you're going to have guys coming through like people like Muhammad Mokayev and other guys that are coming through whose wrestling is kind of off the scale. So yeah, it was a great fight. I mean, this was the one. I mean, this is the one we've been talking about in that group chat for 24 hours. And that just shows you.
How did you score it?
I had it Paul Hughes. I definitely had it Paul Hughes. I'd said same as Kieran, I had it 29-28. And it was, I mean, even Paul Hughes, I mean, after it, he got on top of the cage and celebrating and stuff like that. And it looked like a foregone conclusion for me, in my eyes. I'd say it was very, very close. but then obviously the referee gave it to Jordan. I'd kind of went away at that point because I thought, like, Paul Hughes has won it. So I'd went away, made a cup of tea, come back, and obviously Jordan's walking around and he's getting all the pictures taken. And I was thinking, well, what happened? And I had to go online to see what had happened. But then that was when obviously the WhatsApp group kind of blew up. Because obviously me and Peter had it for Paul Hughes. I think you and the other guy, Chris, had it for Jordan. So, but I mean, that's the great thing about MMA. I mean, you can have a fight like that. Obviously, we don't know who's going to win it, and then there's controversy. Everybody's talking about it and stuff like that, which then sets up a second fight. So the fact that everybody's talking about it, as Kieran said, do you know what I mean? Set it up for if Morgan does leave, set it up for a title fight. And then go from there. It's definitely well deserved. I mean, both these guys did absolutely brilliant last night.
Yeah, they're so good. And for me, like I thought Paul Hughes took the first round quite clearly, but it was the second and third round, which I know a lot of people kind of give me hate for this, but I kind of felt like it could have gone either way. I did think Vucenic just outworked Paul a little bit. I don't know. I felt like he was the one pressing for the takedowns, landing a little bit slightly nicer shots. I felt as well. If Hughes had won that decision, though, I wouldn't have complained because it was such a close fight. But me watching it live, I did feel Vucenic had just edged it. And, you know, honestly, the feeling I get with this kid watching him is like, wherever level you put him at, he's gonna swim. Like he's that guy where he'll fight at the level you put him in at. And, you know, he obviously beat Steve Aimable the last time, a really seasoned veteran. He was a big underdog in that. He was an underdog again last night. Last night. Get my days mixed up here with all these fights going on, but yeah, he always seems to come through. And you know, I can't really predict what would happen in another fight because they're so closely matched. But I definitely want to see that. I mean, like,
do you know his character as well? I mean, he did the interview with Katie, and I mean, it's just his character and his personality. Jordan's unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Like, I watched this and I was in hysterics from start to finish. Katie was obviously kind of laughing her head off as well because he was just a funny guy. He's one of these guys. He's definitely one of these guys that you could market, not a problem at all. So I mean. Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, Joe, as I said, it's something I'd need to watch back and then see. But definitely, first look for me, I'd say it was definitely Paul Hughes. But yeah, listen, definitely too close to call for me.
Yeah. What do we know about judging, eh? And I gotta say as well for Paul Hughes, like this guy is just going all the way for me. I really see him the next couple of years, like getting to the UFC and beyond. You know, I just think the sky's the limit. He's so talented, and I mean, what's your thoughts on Paul Kieran? We've been speaking about him a lot ever since I think you and I saw him back last year in London at the
back at Unplugged.
We've been raving about him since then, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I've been raving to people. You know, I mean, you need to go and check out this kid. Him and Ian Gary, the guys are like when I get asked with two most promising fighters in case for me, Paul's elite level striker. We've seen him pulled off that head kick knockout in Manchester earlier this year. Again, just wasn't his night, unfortunately, but he's definitely one for the future. The way he handled that defeat was such class as well. He came out and said that anyone that was sending his opponent hate messages, he'd got no respect for. He got the ultimate respect for Jordan. The fact that they'd had a bit of bad blood in the build to it, they sort of had a bit of tense stare down. And then after the fight, they were, you know, show that warrior spirit, having a hug, having a beer after the fight, taking photos together. That just shows the ultimate class both guys have got. Both guys are destined for bigger things. Paul has been on our radar since last year for very good reason.
Yeah, and just lastly, leaving this fight, then, do you think, Kieran, that it is a title shot for Vucenic next, whether it's against Paul Hughes or whether it's against the current champ?
It has to be. There's no other person in the division now that can really say I'm the best person in this division. I should be the next one, apart from Jordan Vucenic, possibly Paul Hughes as well after that. You know, after the decision. But yeah, if Vucenic his next fight is definitely for a title. Get prepared for 5 rounds, Jordan. You're gonna need it because you've got a title shot next, kid.
Yeah, definitely, and deserved as well. To be fair, very well deserved. So we hope to
Yeah.
see either way, whether it's a rematch for a title shot or whether it's him fighting someone else. I definitely think he deserves that and hope he gets it. So all the best to him for that. And that takes us to the last fight that I wanted to mention then on this card. Ian Gary, another massive prospect coming out of Ireland, another guy with a huge character. You know, Stoomboy said about Vucenic being marketable. I mean, if he's marketable, Ian Gary must just be another level. Obviously, he took a defeat over Lawrence Tracy, ground and pound, completely dominant. Kieran, Ian Gary, another guy we both watched him for the first time at that card back in London last summer. Only got better since, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking off to. I was his pro debut last year in Liverpool. I think I was one of the only few media members there, so I got to have an exclusive interview with him. He was fantastically funny. I got to speak to his coaches. They were just singing his praises. I spoke to Kev Taylor. He had a guy that was fighting an amateur on that card, and he spoke about Ian's character, where Ian had taken Kev's kids and said, "Oh, Darren Till's in our changing room. Do you want to come and get a photo with him?" And I took them across to get photos with him, introduce them. His character is so marketable. We saw in the Cage Warriors videos and stuff they were releasing all week how him and Paul are just comedy gold. I mean, if we can get some sort of spin-off series from this with those two, no one's going to be disappointed. His performance again just dominated Lawrence Tracy from start to finish. Anything Lawrence threw at him, he sort of just negated. Finished off in style. But Ian, again, fantastic year for him this year as well. And he spoke in his interview saying that he didn't expect to fight twice this year with everything that was going on. The fact that he did was a bonus for him. And we know he's definitely great things. Like trains at Team KF. He's got a great team around him, like Chris Fields, the Shelley brothers, who are fantastic strikers in Taekwondo. He's got everything he needs to be a UFC champion. I firmly believe that. And yeah, he's a great character inside and outside of the cage too. Very respectable, very nice. Everyone gets on to him. I've not seen anyone say a bad word about him. And for me, he's a UFC champion in the future. I think his next fight actually should be for the Cage Warriors welterweight title. Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Stu? Do you think he's a shot now?
Yeah, I mean, he was, again, Kieran talking about the markability and stuff like that. Again, he had an interview with Katie as well. And again, he was one of the other guys I was in hysterics watching him because he was just so confident. When he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do this, I'm going to absolutely smash this guy," and he went out and he did exactly that. Title shot, yeah. I mean, you can throw him in there. I said, "What is he?" He's young. If he gets a title shot, he wins a title shot. Where does he go? Does he automatically go into the UFC? Does Dana make the call? Bellator? So yeah, I mean the future's definitely bright for Ian Gary. I mean that obviously his nickname the Future. So, but he's definitely. I mean, after that win last night, he's definitely not the future. He's definitely the present. So great win for him.
Definitely.
Yeah, just on that, I think if he does get the title shot next, I think. If he doesn't get a straight UFC corp, I mean, showing that he can defend a 175, the title at 170, it's definitely going to do good things for him. And at the very least, he'll probably get a call to the contender series as well. At the very least, so I don't think putting him in a 170 title shot is going to do any harm to him at all. Mm-hmm. I think to be honest, if he went to Bellator, his title would be wasted.
Yeah, and he called his shot as well, didn't he? He said, "I want to come out and work on my ground and pound," and then came out and did exactly that. So when you're in that much of control of your abilities, that you're calling your shot like McGregor. I know it's a cliche at this point, but McGregor-esque, like calling your shot. I'm going to knock him out in the first round and doing it. It really is promising. And as Stoomboy said, he's not the future anymore. He is the present in Cage Warriors, and you know, I think very exciting. So yeah, that's the last card, gentlemen. The last fight on the last card. Obviously, we had 3 cards over 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come from York Hall in London. Absolutely brilliant lot of events, I got to be honest. And, you know, it really did sort of give us a good send-off before Christmas and heading into the new year in terms of Cage Warriors. They did a great job. Kieran, I'll come to you first. What was your take on the overall sort of feedback on the second trilogy for Cage Warriors? Better than the first one? Not as good?
I'd definitely say the second one was a lot better. I think the matchmaking it made a lot more sense. There wasn't a boring fight on there. Just a few fights as well that I want to mention before we sign off. Will Curry, he made his Cage Warriors debut. Me and Kate have been singing his praises for a long time, and he made the catch weight at 192 pounds instead of the 185. He looked great against a really tough opponent in Dario Belandi. I can't pronounce that name, sorry. But he looked fantastic. I've seen him on the amateur circuit. He's definitely evolved since then. He's trained with Kamzat Chimaev. Jimmy Manuel's sort of top prospect, and Christian Duncan who opened up the prelims last night with that spinning head kick KO. I love the spinning shit, so that was just fantastic to see. And yeah, I mean, just overall fantastic presentation. I just want to say thank you to the guys at Cage Race for putting it on. The guys that behind the scenes like Harry and Matt that do a lot of work that goes unseen. The stuff they've been doing is fantastic, and hope the next trilogy they've announced today, they're hoping to have fans in the arena. You can sign up for the pre-sale tickets. I really hope that's the case, and we can get some fights and get fans in arenas as well, because fights should be happening in front of fans. For me, that's the most exciting thing, is when you've got fans reacting to what's going on in the cage. But yeah, fantastic trilogy of events. Fight of the trilogy has got to be huge for Eternity for me.
Yeah, definitely. Doomboy, same question. Your overall thoughts of the 3 cards? And
yeah, I mean, listen, I thought all 3 of them cards were absolutely brilliant. It just shows you that the fights that we had were fantastic fights. And as Kieran said, could you imagine them same fights in front of an audience? It would just make the fights even better. Yeah, I mean, great 3 days of martial arts, MMA from Thursday right through to Saturday. Fight the out of the 3 of them again, Jordan and Paul Hughes. That was definitely the fight. That's the one everybody's talking about. So yeah, that's definitely got to be the best fight out that I've seen all week. So
yeah, brilliant. Well, that just about wraps it up, I think, guys. First of all, for everyone who has stuck with us over this hour and 16 minutes, a big thank you. You must be crazy giving up your Sunday evening to listen to us blabber on, but we do appreciate you. And as always, please do drop us a like and a follow as well, because we always appreciate the support. Kieran, where can people get at you on social media, buddy, if they want to get in touch?
Yes, if you want to follow me on Twitter at Cobley Reporting, that's where I put all my thoughts on MMA. You can also follow my sporting life tips that I do for them, for the UFC. But yeah, if you want to talk fights, at Cobley Reporting on Twitter is the best place to catch me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And Stoomboy, great meeting you for the first time, buddy. I know we chat a lot online, but this is obviously our first show together, so always a pleasure. And where can people get at you?
Couple of different ways. Obviously, my own Facebook. So Stuart Stoomboy Henderson. Stoomboy spelt with a H. So STOOMBHOY. And the MMA UK BJJ show as well. So obviously on Facebook as well. So they're the kind of most common places you'll find me.
Real. Why do they call you Stoomboy, Stu?
So this is Katie asked us. This was an old nickname from back in the day. We got into a bit of a trouble, and I didn't say anything, so he kept Stoom. So Stoom's like a word for keeping quiet, not telling anybody. So Stoomboy, it kind of stuck with me since I was about 13-year-old. So
yeah, that's the most Scottish nickname I've ever heard, I think. Yeah, mate, honestly, thank you for the time this evening, and look forward to the next one, guys. See you all soon, okay?
Take it easy.
All right, cheers, guys. Take it easy, guys.